Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is doing well. Hopefully, you guys can hear me nice and clear. I have got my fan on in the background because I'm absolutely sweating. So I do apologize if there's a little bit of a noise that you guys can hear. But welcome to your daily market outlook for today. This is your daily market analysis with myself. And before I get into the video, make sure that you guys are dropping a like on this video, dropping any comments and making sure as well that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. That would be massively appreciated, especially if you do get some value and you do tune into these videos every single day. Now, before we get into the charts, understand that the content on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial, investment, or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Any past performance discussed does not guarantee future results. You are responsible for your own financial decisions. So before we jump into the charts, as always, let's see what's going on today in regards to the news. As you guys can see, I use Forex Factor just to check over what is happening with each currency. If we do have any red folder news, so that we can basically keep an eye on volatility coming into the markets. Now, as you can see, Tuesday the 7th of July, we don't have any red folder news today, but going into tomorrow, we do have New Zealand dollar and US dollar news. So, we could potentially have a slower day today, maybe just because the lack of volume that could be coming in. And obviously maybe pick up tomorrow and for the rest of the week in regards to the news. So as always, starting off on the US dollar from a daily time frame, nothing's changed. Pretty much nothing's changed since Thursday, last Thursday. As you can see, since Thursday's candles reached into this demand, you can see we had Thursday, Friday, Monday, and now Tuesday is still inside of this daily demand area. As you guys will know from yesterday, what we are waiting for is, well, we have multiple scenarios. Of course, if we look at the structure, you can see that market is bullish from a daily time frame. We've got this higher high here and this higher low here. Now, usually what we expect the market to do is obviously dip into either obviously this demand zone or this demand zone at the bottom and then go and create that new higher high. Now, obviously that is what we're naturally thinking. Now, of course, what could potentially happen otherwise is I always make sure that even if the structure is bullish, I want to make sure that if we're reacting and showing some sort of volume the opposite way, depending on obviously where the market is, if we're going in an uptrend on the daily, if we're getting bearish volume, I want to know why we're getting that bearish volume. Is there a reason for that? And that's when I'll just scan the area left to see what is going on. And as you can see at this moment in time, we have this daily area here. You can see what's happened is when market moved, obviously consolidated in here, then we had market pull down. Then you can see that this wick and this wick here, that will be a confirmation of a little internal pullback. And then we broke down again. So that's the reason why this little internal area here is an area of significance to see why the market's reacted from. Now, of course, I would prefer this area here above this daily supply to be the area that gives us more of a reaction if we was to carry on shorting. So, this could just be a little bump in the road, this supply, for this volume here. And then we could obviously have this next move, of course. But I just want to make sure that you guys know that. I always scan left to see what is going on. So again, if we was to carry on bearish, we obviously have this daily supply area that we're reacting from. Now, of course, if we get some sort of reaction from here, we have this daily supply area here. This daily supply area is going to be an issue area, which I teach in my course, an issue area to see whether we actually carry on shorting or if it's just going to be something that's a little bump in the road and then we carry on longing. So please be aware of this daily supply area because if we do carry on shorting, we could see, this scenario happen. So pretty clear. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, going into the lower time frames, not much has happened since yesterday. Of course, you'll notice that we talked about this 4-hour demand area, this 4-hour demand area below that as well. But one thing you can notice is we obviously have the internal bullish here. We have this internal structure, as you guys can see. And then market has obviously started to come down, failed to go and create a new higher high, and then we had this internal change of trend. Now, obviously, the internal change of trend is reached this demand area. So it's going to be one of them things where we look to see, is this internal trend just to reach this higher time frame demand, and then we're going to carry on? Or is this the next area to obviously, let's say, either this supply or this supply to carry on shorting? So that is one thing I want you guys to obviously just keep an eye on. Now, of course, yesterday, we talked about the fact that we have this 1 hour supply area, and you can see this 1 hour supply area gave a perfect reaction from obviously market dipped above and then gave us this reaction from there. So we called that out yesterday on our daily market outlook. Now, just quickly so you can understand, my two scenarios are if we carry on shorting, we're going to carry on shorting from either, in my opinion, this supply area here as a 4 hour supply. We've got imbalance below. So, are we building up some sort of liquidity now internally, internal liquidity? And then are we going to see a punch above and then market carry on downwards? That is a scenario that I'm looking for. Or, of course, if market decides to, dip into this 4 hour supply, fill in that imbalance, take out any highs, and then do that. That is also a possibility. But for now, let's focus on what happens from this 4 hour supply area. Because ideally, even though we're inside this daily demand, ideally, I would like to see just a bit more of a retracement, either to this 4 hour demand area here, or of course, the lower 4 hour demand. Now, you're probably thinking, why? Well, we have imbalance above this demand. We also have a lot of imbalance above this demand area here as well. So that would be the reason why I would like to see market come down. As we always say, what does a market like to do? The market likes to, seek liquidity and also rebalance itself. So we got a lot of places that we can obviously rebalance. So yeah, man, hopefully that makes sense. Now that leads me on to Euro USD. And as you guys can see, same scenario, we're still in this demand area at this moment in time. We also do have a lot of imbalance above here and also this daily supply area also. So if market was to come above, for me, it would obviously be for that reason to come and fill in the imbalance and potentially come to this daily supply area here. If it was to carry on shorting and carry on down, then obviously that would be completely fine as well. Now, looking at this scenario, you can see that we have obviously this 4 hour area, this 4 hour. You can also look at the 8 and it looks a lot more clearer. You can see that this little consolidation before this move down is where this 4 hour supply area is. Market obviously came in, mitigated this supply, then obviously had that movement away from there. Now, of course, yesterday again we were talking about the fact of if the dollar's going to react from this 1 hour supply area, we expect EU to react from this 1 hour demand area. And that's exactly what we're getting at this moment in time. We've had a reaction yesterday from this demand. Now, going back to the 4 hour, what can we see? Well, for me personally, there's either one scenario where we obviously potentially maybe just carry on going lower. If we break this low, we could obviously carry on shorting. I'll be interested to see what happens from this demand area here, being truthful with you guys, to see if this area is going to give us more of a pullback or if we're just going to carry on shorting. So I'm interested to see what happens from this demand. But again, let's look at dollar again. If we carry on shorting from here, then obviously I want to look for what's next for the Euro USD. And if that is the case, we could potentially see market maybe react from here. Now, ideally, I would need to see some sort of liquidity built up. So what that means basically right now is, let's say we go down to the 1. Let's say we get some sort of reaction now. People start to buy because we think it's going to start going long. And then we get that dip, take out the lows, take out the break evens, take anyone's stop losses, fill in that imbalance on the 4 hour, tap into this demand, and then potentially get that. So ideally, that could be a scenario in which, we keep an eye on. So definitely keep an eye on this area. But again, depending what the dollar's doing will depend for me what I want to do on the major pairs. As you guys who have been learning from me for a while know. Going into the daily time frame on Great British Pound, US dollar, we can clearly see that, of course, we're in this daily range. We've got our daily supply area here, daily lower high, daily lower low. So pretty clear to see. And as you can see yesterday, market came into that supply area. Now we're slowing down slightly. Bear with me for 1 second. So we have reached this obviously daily supply and we have started to slow down slightly. Now, looking at the 4 hour, you can see that the internal structure on the 4 hour is bullish. So still bullish, even though we've reached the supply. And this is when most people will make the mistakes. What most people will do is they will take into consideration the daily short, the daily is selling. Now, because we've reached a 4 hour supply area, people will be all in on shorting from here. They'll be all in on shorting from here, which again is not wrong because it is a valid area. But one thing I need you guys to understand is in order for us to participate, if this is the daily, and we have our daily for our supply inside of our daily supply, let's just say this is our 4 hour supply. What I want you to understand is inside of this daily leg here, we have internal structure. Let me just make this gray. We have internal structure. So what does that mean? Well, that basically means that if the daily shorting, we still understand that somewhere here we have some sort of structure on the 4 hour and on the one. As you can see, we have some sort of structure. This is the daily leg. But you can see we still have that internal structure. We still have lower lows, lower highs, lower low, lower high, lower low. And then obviously it's gone bullish. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is if the 4 hour or 1 hour is giving internal bullish, but the daily is, let's make this a different color, let's make it black. If the 4 hour is bullish, but the daily is bearish, most people will be going, okay, but I'm shorting because the daily is bearish. I'm selling from here. Yes, you can do, but make sure that you're also aware of what our issue area, which it will be our demand area. If we have a 4 hour demand, one scenario would be selling and buying at the same time, trapping the market, I like to call it. So if you sell from this supply and also buy from this demand, you can then see, okay, if demand carries on and I take a loss on here, I'm okay because I'm in this demand. Or if this carries on and I take a loss on this demand, okay, perfect, because I'm in this supply. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. That is a perfect scenario. So if you guys look at the scenario that we're in right now, it's playing out exactly what I just talked about. We are in this 4 hour supply where daily is bearish, but the internal is bullish. Now, as you guys can probably see, this our last higher low, this our higher high on the 4. So this area of demand is my favorable area right now because market should just carry on longing unless we break this low. If we break this low and we have, let's say market comes down, now we have daily bearish and now 4 hours bearish. 4 hours gone from bullish to bearish as well. And that's where you can catch the swing trade ideas. So hopefully that makes sense. Oh, didn't mean that. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on is, longs from here and then potentially maybe seeing what we can catch from this 4 hour supply area on Great British Pound US dollar. NZUSD, you can see that obviously we talked about yesterday the fact that we reached this daily demand area. We had, some sort of reaction from there. And now obviously market's going filled in this imbalance here and started to slowly move away. If we jump down to the 4, you can pretty much see that that's where market is starting to move away. Now, for me personally, if we look at the daily, I said to you guys yesterday on the daily market outlook, I don't really like the look of anything here. But obviously you can see that we filled in the imbalance there. The imbalance started here. Markets come back into here and slowly started to move away. So if we jump down to the 4, we can obviously identify that as well. And as you guys can see, that's where that daily imbalance started. You can see that at this moment in time is interesting because we had bullishness and the market obviously came into this and broke this low here. So where is market reacting from right now? Well, market's reacting from this supply area. this 4-hour supply area. People, if you're thinking, how is that a 4-hour supply area? Well, look at the structure. You had obviously bullishness, market here. You can see this wicked into that supply, so that's mitigated. And then we had obviously this carry on. Now, what's also below that? Look, we can map this out. This supply area was valid when this obviously broke, tapped in and broke. So you can see that, markets obviously start to short from here. Now, again, looking at the dollar, if dollar's going to carry on bullish, then of course, NU is going to carry on bearish. So that is something to definitely keep an eye on. But if the dollar gets into this supply and starts shorting, then what can we see from NZUSD? Well, for one, we've got this 4-hour demand area, but we are already there right now. So understand that we're in this 4-hour demand area, but the US dollar isn't in this 4-hour supply area. So very key to understand. So what I would do is I tend to see if I can find anything on the lower time frames. On the 1 hour, I can't. And then I'd obviously go down to like the 30 and the 15 minutes to see if I can refine an entry inside of this demand area. Now, that will be interesting to see what happens. But again, I will obviously look to see what the dollar is doing mainly. AUD USD, as you can see, pretty much the same scenario as NZUSD. Sorry, GBP USD, the bullishness internal. If you look at AUD USD from a daily time frame, you can see that we're reacting out this daily demand. This is our next daily supply area. So yes, it'd be ideal to get into this supply. And obviously, if you look at the 4-hour, you can see that that's possibly what could be happening. You've got this internal bullishness happening. Market has currently just started to react from this area of 4-hour demand. This area of 4-hour demand, you can see clearly, of course, market structure playing out as we speak. Now, of course, yesterday we said about this 4-hour demand area being our demand, and as you can see, we've had a beautiful reaction from there. Again, you guys hopefully would have been able to catch something from this beautiful 4-hour demand area, which obviously I give you guys for educational purposes. So yeah, let's see what happens. Ideally, like I said, if we can get into this 4-hour supply, that would be amazing, amazing for us. So keep an eye out on that. Again, look for any internal change of trends so that you can potentially get into that trade if you, of course, want. USD CAD, I don't really like, if I'm honest, because it has been consolidating for quite some time. If you look at this whole scenario here, we are extremely sideways. Why would I want to trade this? Like, again, you guys who know me will know that I'm very good at just walking away from the charts when the charts look like this. So if you guys, looking at USD CAD, that's on you. But I look at this from a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, going into 12 days of just consolidation. So ideally, what I want to see is either a break or a break, and then I will participate. Now, USD CHF, a little bit different. Let me just move this a set. USD CHF, let's have a look at what's going on. So we obviously reacted from this demand area that I talked about. We also have this demand area that we could still potentially come into. I'm just going to look left again quickly. The only reason realistic that we could short is that we're taking out all these highs. Liquidity has been taken. But the structure is bullish. As you guys can see, you can see we do have bullish structure. But of course, if you look at the internal has given a pullback, shorting as well. So ideally in this situation, I would look to long and short at the same time. This supply area on the daily, I am going to keep my eye out, because if we do carry on shorting, I think we'll be from this area. And even if it's just to short till we get to this demand area, then we can make a decision if this is going to carry on long or not. Definitely keep an eye out on that area. Jumping into the 4-hour, what can we see? So yesterday we had this supply area. As you can see, we've had a short reaction from there. but nothing much. So I'm going to delete this right now. In fact, let me just quickly go to the one. One thing I can notice is this demand area in which they didn't get touched. You can see we had this small area here, the imbalance, taking out these lows. That's where market came back into and gave that reaction. So again, it just makes me laugh when we talk about supply and demand, because obviously we covered this area here, this consolidation area. That's where market pulled back into. You catch one trade there, but understand when I talk about market seeking liquidity, and obviously looking to rebalance itself. What's it done in this scenario? Well, if we go off where the imbalance started, you can clearly see, let's just zoom in. What's this market done? Well, we still have imbalance above here. So that's the imbalance part. So that's market rebalanced itself. And the second part is seek liquidity. Well, what's this? This is a low. This is a low. It seeked liquidity as well as rebalance itself. And that's where you get the beauty trades like this. So yeah, at this moment in time, internal is bullish. So I'll probably be looking at 30-minute, 15-minute to obviously participate. But a bit interesting, like I said, is if the dollar carries on shorting from here, then what's going to happen when we get into this supply area? That could be the area that aligns with the dollar, and we could get that short from there. So definitely keep an eye out on that. USD, Japanese yen, absolute beauty. As you guys can see, we'll just quickly go to the daily time frame. We talked about yesterday the fact that, obviously we're in this demand, but we had this institutional candle here, and we left this daily supply area. Now, this daily supply area left a lot of imbalance below. And yesterday, you can see market came into that supply and volume slowed down a lot. Now, if we jump down to the 4, you can see that we had obviously this 4-hour supply inside that daily supply. That's where markets obviously reacted from. Now, at this moment in time, yes, this is a valid supply area. And if the market was to carry on shorting from here, that would be absolutely, fine. That would be, perfect. But I'm also aware of if the market punches higher, it would be to come into this area. And exactly what we just talked about would be the possibility that it happens again. What if we got below this supply area? We have imbalance. What's this high? Liquidity. So the second scenario would be if the market decides to not carry on from this supply, it could punch above, tap into this supply area, fill in that imbalance, take out any liquidity, and then carry on shorting from here. So hopefully you guys understand. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. And yeah, man, a pleasure as always to be back with you guys and teaching you and educating you on the markets. I appreciate every single person. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's free. It doesn't cost a thing. It takes 2 seconds just to like the video, just to put a comment, just to share it on your social media, and just spread this channel to friends who may be seeking some sort of mentorship. Other than that, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. Take care and God bless.